All right, I'm due for some ranting and raving, so brace yourselves. This one might get interesting. If you're standing up, maybe you should sit down. uh, so I think it was yesterday. I was thinking how, by definition, technically, pretty much everyone they're working on a car right there. Pretty much everyone in modern Western societies is literally, by definition, insane. Now, let me explain the logic here. So, the definition of insane, according to, I think it's Albert Einstein, is repeating the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. That's the definition of insanity. And when you think about it, it makes sense because if someone keeps trying the same thing over and over and it's not working, they're obviously denying the obvious truth that this doesn't work. And to keep doing it makes no sense. Man, I might have to do some editing on this one. But so basically, what that means is the truth is right there for them to see. They're choosing not to see it. If they were sane, they would see that there's the truth. What we're doing ain't working. We need to do something else. Now, every single person in modern Western societies does the same thing when it comes to voting. So we keep, we know, we all know it's out in the open. All these politicians are lying about everything. They do not care about our well being. They exist in a bubble where their bad decisions do not affect them. We all see it, we all know it. We pretend that somehow the system that they set up where we get to vote for them, we pretend that at some point that's going to change. And I get it. People believe in Trump and everything, but you got to realize that they have to they have to give us a game to play. Like if there was no opposition, we would just rebel. We wouldn't play along. So they have to have someone who's convincing enough to where people actually believe he's going to change something. But how many times have we fallen for that? Look at any modern Western society. Let's take America, for instance. What has happened to America ever since World War II? It's been on a steady decline in every metric conceivable. We've fallen behind in everything. We used to have the tallest buildings in the world. We used to have the highest technology in the world. We used to have the highest standard of living, the happiest people. We are nowhere near the top in any of those metrics anymore. Everything's getting worse. Everyone's getting dumber. And it's just been a steady decline for the past about almost 100 years. And we just keep playing along with it when we should know by now that it isn't going to work. So, by definition, we're all insane. I got to be honest, I've never voted in my life. I never once have voted. I heard George Carlin make a great point about it when I was a kid. He said voting is no different than rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. These politicians are insignificant. They mean nothing. They're insignificant. They're about as significant as deck chairs on the Titanic. Now, the Titanic being modern Western society in general, it's going down, it seems. But the good news is that the strong and the smart are are just going to continue on. They're going to build from the ashes and they're going to make a great society. But and then it'll be the same cycle over again. But here's the other problem. I read another quote the other day, and it said, the most rebellious person, if you put them in charge, they would be just as bad as the czar himself. Now, I here's the thing. I lean more right than left nowadays, but I gotta say, the right annoys me in a lot of ways to the point where I'm I the modern right, I'm not willing to fight and die for these people. They say things that annoy me. They believe they're being played just as hard as the left. Here's the thing. The left is being played into pushing insanity. in the name of being politically correct and being, you know, all inclusive. They're pushing insanity to the point where they don't even know the difference between men and women anymore. Could you imagine a more confused individual than that? He doesn't know the difference between a man and a woman. There's nothing more obvious on earth than the difference between men and women. If they can mess your brain up to the point where you logically think there's no difference between men and women, they got your brain all twisted and fucked up because it's a very obvious truth. Um, and so there's where the left is insane. Now on the right, they've got the people on the far right. They're turning them into genocidal maniacs. The people on the right, instead of blaming the people in control who are playing everyone against each other, they're they're being gaslit into blaming the pawns. Who are the pawns? Any ethnic or racial group in the modern Western world is a group of pawns. All of them. None of them hold any real power. They're all being played against each other. They're just pawns. We're all just pawns. You don't win a game of chess by killing all the pawns. That's how you lose. You know, you got people on the right got to stop blaming the pawns. The people controlling the game are making it look that way. They want you to blame this group or that group. I'm trying to keep my videos up, and I'm trying to not get canceled. So I can't speak all the way open, but I've got a lot to say about this. So here's what I'm thinking lately. I'm gonna make a dollar tier on Patreon, and I'll give the dollar tier just to get a bunch of people on there. This way, in case I do get canceled, I still got people. We can still build something up at some point. So I'm gonna make a dollar tier on Patreon. I'll give you access to the hidden hand videos, which is the first 13. The $3 tier, I will give access to hidden hand and the counterpart, and then the $5 tier gets access to everything. I maybe a dollar, maybe yeah, fuck it, a dollar. Like I'll only be getting like 50 cents of that. But here's the thing, I, I I want a lot of people on my Patreon in case I do end up getting canceled at some point in the future. We can build a new following from there and continue to build a resistance. So, here's the thing. I'm not revealing my plans in public anytime soon, but maybe on Patreon I will. But I've got long-term plans. I'm playing chess too. They're playing chess. A lot of us are playing checkers. Well, I'm playing chess too. So, um, so now I'm totally distracted because I feel like I'm like being spied on. But because there's a bunch of people working right there. I don't like talking and being like overheard. But so here's the thing. Once you start realizing the small there's evidence everywhere. It's everywhere. So I shared a thing on Facebook this morning saying like you've got four grandparents, eight grandparents, 16 great grandparents, and I'm not good at math, 32 great great grandpa, and it just goes on and on and on to where you have literally thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of ancestors throughout the millennia, because modern man has existed on Earth for tens of thousands of years, potentially hundreds of thousands of years. Nobody knows for sure. But so you've got your ancestors stretch back to, I mean, according to evolution, to fish even. You like if you trace your bloodline far enough back, according to the accepted theory of evolution, your ancestors were fish. You go further back than that, your ancestors were a cell. So, but that's beside the point. The point is that you've got thousands, probably tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of ancestors stretching back thousands of years. And here's the weird thing: none of them, in all these thousands of years, none of them was able to accumulate any wealth. I mean, the earth provides, the earth is very generous. It provides free food and free everything for all its creatures. And in thousands of generations, your descendants were so inept and so incompetent that they weren't even able to pass down a shelter. I mean, it makes no sense because mankind is not inept or incompetent. Mankind is the most intelligent creature that's ever existed on Earth, as far as we know. And if you just look at the amazing things people have done, people all throughout history have been doing amazing, brilliant, clever things. So we're all capable of it. All our ancestors were capable of it. Why is it that none of them were able to accumulate like wealth to pass down? Not even enough wealth to pass down a shelter. I mean, none of your ancestors were able to afford a house to pass down. You expect me to believe that? How does it make sense? It makes no sense. And here's another thing: none of us know anything about our ancestors. I mean, what kind of people keep no records of anything? Let me tell you what kind of people keep no records of anything: slaves. That's the kind of people. They don't pay attention to anything. They let their higher ups do all the thinking. That's slave mentality. And so my point is that we have been, at some point in the past, I couldn't tell you when, we our people were conquered, all of us, and everything was taken from them. All the wealth they had accumulated, all the lands, all the everything was taken from them, and their descendants were raised by the enemy in occupied territory as slaves, and but brainwashed and manipulated to the point where they don't think they're slaves. They think they're just the working class who, oh man, bills are just getting out of hand. That's all. It it's normal. It's not normal. It's not normal for a person to work their whole life and die with nothing. That is not normal. That's what a slave does. And yet we all do just that. And at the same time, we get blamed for slavery as if, let me tell you something, if your ancestors owned slaves, you'd have a lot of money. They would have passed down a lot of money to you because slaves were never cheap. They are now. They work for minimum wage. You know what I mean? So my point is that the only way slavery works is if the slaves think they're free. If they know they're being fucked out of everything, eventually they're going to rebel. Look at the slave revolt in Haiti. Um, People think that's like a racial thing. It really isn't. Those slaves were being abused in a million different ways by the ruling class, and it was such disgusting abuse happening, and so much wealth being generated by them that when the slaves finally did rebel, which obviously they're being abused, and all the wealth they're generating is being taken from them right in their face. They didn't even try to hide it. When that shit popped off, there were multiple races fighting on both sides. It wasn't like the black slaves versus the white owners. There were blacks and whites fighting against the owners, and there were blacks and whites fighting against the slaves because there were black people who owned slaves too. So, they try to make it seem like it's all this race and this and that. And what ended up happening was through the corruption, you'd have to. I watched an interesting video on it, but my point is that race has not, slavery has nothing to do with race. Every type of people on earth has been enslaved at some point. Not only that, every type of people on earth has owned slaves at some point. The only difference is nowadays, the people who own the slaves make it seem like, well, that was interesting. There was just like, there's a train track right over there, and I swear it looked like a pickup truck with train wheels just went by. Another one just went by. What the fuck? I'm gonna have to Google that and see if that's a thing. It must be some sort of like maintenance crew for the train track. Anyways, so you know, my point is that anytime it's just outright slavery and the slaves know that they're being enslaved, there's going to be rebellions. It's going to cause conflict constantly. It's never going to stop. So at some point they realized if we really want to enslave people and take everything from them, we're going to have to put a system in place that conceals that fact and makes them think they're free. So, history is a set of lies agreed upon. We're taught that we are the pinnacle of evolution. We are the smartest, most capable version of mankind to ever exist. Well, if that's the case, how do you explain the pyramids in Egypt and how we could we can't do that? I don't care what YouTube video you see that explains how the pyramids were built. It's easily debunked. I had an argument with someone on Instagram over this. He's telling me, yeah, assuming I'm not going to look into it. I'm looking for the truth. I look into everything. So he's sitting here telling me, "Oh yeah, well this one architect debunked everything, and he showed how they can build the pyramids." I said, "Really? What's the video?" And he told me. I went and watched the entire thing, and it, the the guy was wrong on so many fucking ridiculous things that I guarantee deep down he doesn't even believe his theories. He's just getting views on YouTube. So when I go back to Instagram to report my findings to this guy after I busted him in everything and being like, "How could you be so dumb to not notice this and that and this and that?" He erased his comment because he realized that he the video that he was so sure about, and this guy was an architect. The video that he was so sure about and the evidence that he was so sure about, I debunked it instantly. As I was watching the video, none of it made sense. Here's the thing. There's so many inconsistencies, but you got to realize what it comes down to is we cannot take 60-ton blocks of granite and move them hundreds of feet into the air. We don't know how to do that. There's we can't do it. And in order to build the pyramids, you need to be able to do that. So my personal theory is the pyramids were not built by people. They were built by something else. Go on my Patreon if you want details. And I need to go set up the lower tier on Patreon to get everyone on there. Um, the pyramid stuff is on the $5 tier, but whatever, it doesn't. I mean, you can read the comments probably and and just go look into the stuff on your own. It's not like I'm hiding my sources of information. All I'm doing on Patreon is kind of translating it because some of these people who I use as sources speak in ways that are hard to understand. It's taken me years of listening to these people to figure out what the hell they're saying. They speak in a lot of overcomplicated ways. Anyways, um, so my point here is that if we are the pinnacle of evolution and we're the smartest, most capable version of mankind to ever exist on Earth, why can't we build? Why is the architecture from past civilizations so much more impressive than ours? Why is it that we can't even replicate what they were doing thousands of years ago with all our technology? I'm talking into a phone right now, which is going to reach thousands of people. With all our technology, we cannot do the things that they were doing. Number one. Number two, look at the empires they built. Look how impressive they were. Look at ancient Rome. Look at ancient Egypt. Look at the Renaissance in Europe. Look at the architecture in Europe. Look at some of the architecture in New York City, even. Look at the architecture. Look what they built. Look what we build. We build a bunch of boxes and parking lots. We build the things we build, monkeys could build if you showed them what to do and rewarded them with bananas. They'd be building the same shit. I mean, I worked in construction. We built the simplest, most ridiculous things that, I mean, nothing we built was impressive. You know, not in any way, shape, or form was it impressive. It's all very simple, very basic. Like, you could, if you just took 10 people and put them on an isolated island somewhere and let them evolve on their own, they'd be evolving into making things way more impressive than the things we make. My point is that we have not evolved. We are not the pinnacle of evolution. We've been stunted, and evolution has been interrupted. We've been devolved. They've done a million things to make us dumber. They've done a million things to make us less capable. I mean, if they wanted intelligent, capable, powerful people, the first thing they would teach us when we were kids is how to rely on nobody but yourself. They would teach you that if worse comes to worse, you go out to the middle of the woods and here's how you survive. If worse comes to worse, this is what you do. Because we need to teach everyone how not to starve first and foremost. They never teach us that. What they teach us is that if you do not get a job, you will starve. If you're not taking orders from someone else and doing what they tell you to do, you're going to starve. They don't teach you how to do it on your own. They teach you how to basically be a servant. And oh, you can choose what type of servant you want to be. That ain't no choice. That ain't freedom. That's slavery. So you know, this is why at some point I realized when I was younger, in order for me to break out of this manipulation, I need to figure out how to rely on myself and not this system. And I accomplished that. And so now I'm not rich, but I am free. And I have a lot of options. And in my opinion, that's a good spot to be in. And I do believe I I will accumulate some wealth at some point, but I'm not going to use it to buy yachts and jets and shit. I'm going to use it for something else. And I'm more about doing than talking, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I need to rearrange my Patreon. It's because I want thousands of people on there at least. This way, if I lose any, access to my people, I'll still have it, and we can rebuild on something else from there, or we can just do it from there. Anyways, so hopefully this video makes sense. I was very distracted during it, and I probably should have taken notes, but I tell you what, I got a ton of videos coming up because lately ideas have just been flowing into my brain, bro, and there's a ton of videos I want to make, and I can't wait to make them. So hopefully this one makes sense. And, if you've got any theories, feel free to put them in the comments. If you want a response, try to get it in the first 30. And, I don't care if you want to insult me or talk shit to me, that's fine, but don't expect a cohesive response. If you want to have a debate, you got to be civil because then I react civil. I'm a mirror, bro. Like the energy people bring to me is what I automatically spew forth. It's, I do it by nature. You know what I mean? So if you have opposing theories, we can debate it. Just don't be an asshole about it because then that turns me into an asshole and then we don't get nowhere. Here's the thing, I'm looking for the truth. I'm not looking to push a narrative. This is why I don't consider myself on the far right. I find them just as insulting to my intelligence as the far left. You know what I mean? I can't be on either of these sides. They're both just waiting to lose. You know what I mean? They're both no good, in my opinion. We got to stop. We got to stop this bullshit with the right and the left because both of them are wrong. Uh, I need to make a video and break that down and hopefully make it make sense to everyone. Because here's the thing: we're all on the same team. We're all pawns being played against each other. And in order for us to get control, we got to stop letting them play us like fools. So, um, and yet, like, I see Joe Rogan's always like, don't read the comments. I'm like, I read all the fucking comments. I read as many as I can. First of all, I'm interested in what people have to say. Second of all, I'm not afraid of a little bit of insulting or shit talking or whatever, bro. I've been through so much worse than that. You think I give a like? Plus, I'm open for debate. If someone sees some blind spot, something that I've missed, I want it pointed out to me so I can look into it. I'm looking for the truth. Anyways, appreciate every single one of you. Thanks for the subs, likes, comments. Oh, my Red Dead Redemption playthrough is probably going on the other channel. I need to get on that. One of the issues is every time I play that video game, I'm stoned out of my mind. So maybe that's more entertaining, or maybe I should be doing them sober. We'll see. I'll see what y'all think on my other channel once I start putting the videos up. I got to do stand up tonight, so these are all things within the next couple of days. I got to get to working on them. I got to do the Patreon video tomorrow, and I got to get these Red Dead Redemption playthroughs. I've started filming them. I got to get them organized and all that. And so, yeah, appreciate every single one of you. If you want a response, try to get it in the first 30. Thanks for the subs, likes, comments, tips. Thanks to the Patreon especially. And let me rearrange that shit. So a buck a month, that's nothing. I mean, you know what I mean? Just to keep me in contact with hopefully a large part of my following. And the other thing is, if I do that, I'll throw some other type of videos up on there where I can speak more openly on there. Anyways, yeah, appreciate yous. I'll see yous on the next one. Everybody have a good one.